Welcome to Cutting Edge Web Content Development, the podcast where we delve into the world of CMS systems and their crucial role in website and web content development. In each episode, we'll explore the reasons why founders, CEOs, CTOs, and CMOs of web content development companies need CMS systems to thrive in the digital landscape. Get ready to uncover the secrets behind successful website management, content creation, and seamless user experiences. Here's your host, Jonathan Ames.
Welcome to Cutting Edge Web Content Development, a podcast by Butter CMS. Today, we're delighted to have Patrick Hotchkiss, the e-commerce manager and SEO strategist at Horsepower Automotive Group. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I was glad to be here.
I'm really glad to have you on here. Some of your experiences are amazing that you've had in the background. Could you tell us just a couple of the projects you've worked on, maybe some of the brands you worked with?
Yeah, so my background begins as far as SEO is concerned in the music industry. I used to work in a recording studios as a recording engineer. And then I was tasked with helping with some of our web presence, right, for the studios. The studio serviced bands, and bands have merchandise, right? So being that there's a lot of money in merchandise in the music industry, that's band shirts, other apparel, posters, all of that. We wanted to move from music distribution and recording into the merchandising space. Generally, I'm a technical person, so the owner had asked for me to assist with that. So it all kind of began, SEO and e-commerce began with band t-shirts, which we had to solve various problems. We wanted to create the merchandise ourselves to maximize profits, right? Rather than having an established print shop or design team do that for us, we assembled it in-house. So I had to learn how do we screen print t-shirts? How do we digitally print posters, figure out all these different moving parts and bring it into the digital space to start helping these bands promote it and market it themselves outside of just their live venue, their shows, right? Traditionally, a band will sell merch at a show.
At a show, yeah.
But you're only getting the people that show up. The people who listen to you on Spotify or Apple Music, they might want your merch too, so you got to get it in front of them, which is where SEO came into play. So I began by just being self-taught. How do you optimize for Google? How do you get people to see you on Facebook or Instagram, or MySpace was still a thing back then, and just kind of learning it that way myself. From there, once I parted ways with this company, I went to work for an SEO firm that's here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and got tutelage, mentorship from the guys that had been doing this their whole career, particularly a couple of guys that had been in just from the start, the early days of the internet, where SEO was essentially easier. You could spam your website with keywords. It was easier to just kind of force yourself into the listings until Google and the rest of them caught on, of course. And it's become more nuanced ever since. Working with that company, I had many small clients that I worked with, most of which were in the service industry. So that's different than hitting the national level of e-commerce or even international level. So much of your SEO is focused on the local market, right, for service. So that's where I also got to learn about some of the local SEO tactics that can be used, what works and what doesn't. Once again, spamming and repetitiveness are never rewarded by the Google algorithm.
Not anymore.
That's only gotten tighter as the years have gone on. Google seems to be more interested in the time people are spending on your site, even their engagement, right? How many pages are they visiting? What are they viewing, video and other content? So yeah, SEO has been a big evolution.
Very interesting story from the music business onto an SEO agency, some national, kind of local SEO. Now, currently you work with an automotive group. So you're working with auto parts. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's aftermarket parts, and it's all in the off-road or overland or travel, adventure. You got to get your mountain bikes up the mountain. And if you want to get to the best trails, you have to have an off-road capable vehicle. You need a way to mount your gear. So it touches a few lifestyles, right? Whether you're a guy with a Wrangler that's out there looking for a challenge, that's the event, is just going off-road. Can I make it up this trail? All the way to a guy who, maybe a family who owns a Sprinter van, and they're looking to travel up the coast and hit some surfing spots along the way. So that's more about the destination, right, than the actual adventure up the mountain.
So multiple brands, you have to do SEO.
It's 4 brands, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I started looking for change from the firm because I was split in so many different directions, so many different industries. I really wanted to focus in on kind of one concept, one effort. And we touch a lot of spaces in the outdoors world, but it's still a much more focused effort. So I was looking for a situation where I could do that. And Horsepower Automotive Group was a great option. It was also here local to me. And it's got some of the best brands in the world for the off-road space. Yeah.
So tell us how you do that. How do you come up with this strategy for SEO that aligns across multiple brands to get results that you need?
It's the traditional SEO tactics that apply to any industry. So much of it starts for me with auditing where each of these brands were at in the search space, and then identifying competitors, who's beating us, what are they doing, really drilling down into competitors, finding what we can have success in challenging them for the top slots. If identifying competitors that are too big, right? I wouldn't go after Toyota's own e-commerce efforts, right? I mean, Toyota's too big. It's going to beat smaller brands every day in SEO. Their ad budget, marketing budget, blow anybody out of the water other than other manufacturers. But we identify the other third parties that are in the Jeep space, the Toyota space, Raptor space with Ford, and identify who we have capability to beat out for those top slots. And then SEO for me, everything, people say content is king. And absolutely, that's my mantra as well. And I think SEO, other than all the technical backend aspects of it, which we'll get into, the primary thing is what is in front of people. And that is optimized. Your keywording, of course, but it's easy to fall into copy that doesn't feel normal because you're trying to force keywords into it that don't read well. So I find that's one of the most important things is you don't want to just capture Google's attention. You've got to keep that person there wanting to continue to read because they're interested in what you have to say. So it's not just a technical thing. You have to be creative or have a creative writer there to help you. Or you can say, here's what we need to work into your copy and allow them to work their magic on it.
So first step is just look at where you're at. Second step is define those competitive opportunities. Which of these should I go after based on the competition there? And third step is to create really good content that has a blend of both your need to stand out to Google, but also your need to convert and to sound authentic to the reader.
Absolutely. Yeah, and just keeping people on your page is going to boost your SEO. So you want to accomplish that, right? You want their time on page. You want them clicking through to additional pages, right? You want a low bounce rate. But you need some of these people to convert. In the aftermarket automotive space, there's not the best data on what the industry standard conversion rate is. 1% to 2% essentially is pretty standard. So you're getting a lot of eyes on your product, just trying to grab a small sliver of people who actually pull the trigger and make a purchase. It is a very niche space as well. People that drive a Wrangler, they're very proud to be in that community. Same thing if you have an F-150, right? You're very proud of that as well. There's a lot of little niches in there, and each can appreciate each other's make and model. And hey, that's a great looking Tacoma you've got. But people have a lot of loyalty to the type of vehicle they drive. So you got to also meet people like that. If you're not a Tacoma guy or a Toyota guy in general with 4Runner and the Tundra and the Tacoma, you have to be able to put yourself in their feet and understand what they're into and the type of person that generally speaking, right? There's a lot of generalities there, but I think that is an ability that an SEO or an e-commerce person has to cultivate in themselves, is being able to put yourself in other people's shoes.
No, that's really important. I think most people, when they think of SEO, they think of the technical side and not the creative side, not the human side of SEO. The human side of SEO is just what you said. And that's because Google now is looking at how long people are staying on your content and whether they click to a few different pages or just bounce and whether they convert. So your ability to, like you said, get into the mind of that person, create content that meets them where their needs are rather than just meets the keywords or copies what your competition is doing. That's interesting.
Yeah. To me, it's transparent when I'm on a website. And I think other people pick up on it too that don't have knowledge of SEO and don't work in that industry. Just your regular person. It's going to come across a little weird when the technical aspects are prioritized over the user experience. Yeah. So as the technical side is important, content and the user experience is equally important. And sometimes you have to have some give and take with SEO and go with the variation of the keyword term. The keyword term just might read funky no matter how you try to work it into it. You can always throw it in your URL, right? But in your copy, you got to keep with the more fluid variants for your keyword phrases. There's different things with content where it could be optimized with direct SEO, the file names and your alt text for your video and image content. Stuff like that is easy for people to overlook, especially if you're working with a high product count. A lot of tedious steps in there. And I think that's one of the easiest ways to set yourself apart from your competitors. When I look at our competitors in the off-road space, a lot of them skip some of the tedious SEO tasks, right? And that's one way you can get your leg up on competitors, because that's very common. I think it's very common in a lot of different markets. Some of the more tedious naming conventions and alt text, spending time on that.
SEO basics, but tedious.
Yeah. Even having your web development team or person, whatever you have, which we have a super talented guy by the name of Noah, who's our web developer. And every Monday, we audit all 4 of our websites and we look for any flag. Using SEMrush is what we use for that. And anything that's flagged that week, he gets to at some point. There's more than one person touching the site. You've got a merchandiser that's added content. You got to check out, they forgot to do whatever it is.
The step, yeah.
Upload it in an abnormally large file, and we stay on top of that stuff. And it's really made a big difference for all 4 of these brands.
Yeah, talk to me about that difference. So what impact has this SEO strategy had on customer acquisition and your e-commerce platform?
Yeah, so since I've been with this group, which was 2021, year over year growth has been consistent. And during the pandemic, which I began here towards the end of the pandemic, right? The off-road world really took off. So did the outdoor, right? People were going less to baseball games and more to camping, kayaking, road trips. And so we did really well, really peaked. And then it started to dive back down across the industry. So that's what we were up against. The people at the top of the company, they don't want to see revenue go down. They understand why it spiked, but let's find a way to keep it going. And we were able to do that coupled with product development, right? Keeping our foot on the gas pedal and innovating new products and having fresh content because of those products, but continuing to push the needle with not just our SEO efforts, but our ad campaigns. Those ad campaigns have to support what you're doing organically. So it's important that those two are lined up. Email campaigns, we do a lot of in-person events, off-road events, and that's an important element that has nothing to do with the digital space, right? But all of these arms need to work together. And we've been able to stay ahead of the curve. The economy's had some up and downs over the last couple of years, but we've been able to maintain growth in the direct-to-consumer e-commerce space. So to me, that's the measure for an SEO working in, really e-commerce or service, right? It's revenue growth. Yes, traffic is a measurement of search engine optimization, but that traffic doesn't matter if it doesn't convert, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't tell you, there's a lot of times where I've seen traffic actually go up and conversion rates go down, which drives business executives nuts. They're like, why is our conversions going down? We talked about one tactic that you use, looking for the basic little tedious stuff and making sure you're 100% on things like alt tags and file names. What are some other key tactics you use to optimize your e-commerce site?
So as far as keywording, keeping it 2 to 3% of ratio to other text that's on a page, that's tedious to check everything, especially when you have new content going up every week, but it's worth doing. Page loading speeds, right, on the technical side, which is why we've always got the dev monitoring that. You want to keep it specific.
Patrick, what is it you use for measuring page load speeds?
We use Lighthouse testing. We found that to be the easiest to work with and just effective, right? Built into your Chrome browser. Chrome, honestly, is the way to go for web work, SEO, whatever it is.
What about for your product listings? Anything you do in particular there to try to drive traffic?
Yeah, absolutely. I am responsible for all the copy on our sites. Got a talented copywriter. And one of the steps she takes when we're launching product is to research if we have similar product, maybe it's for a different make and model vehicle, to research the SEO, the ranking for that, search volume, what we're already ranking well for that we can share with the new make and model. And so she does that research before writing the actual product description and on-page content. We work with a social media manager and we supply what we've written to her to truncate and turn into a social media friendly type comment on it. Videographer has put together video content, both for websites, social media, YouTube videos. We link all of these together along with, we have our graphic designers. We have them cross-trained in email strategy. They're touching so many emails, right? Because they're designing for them, that we wanted our graphic designers to be well-trained in email strategies and understanding analytics and to look at their campaigns, past campaigns to steer their future ones. Yeah, we've added mailers. Mailers are a thing in the past. And if we're hitting someone in Google search and we have Amazon stores for all the brands, they go to Amazon, they see our brand there. They get an email, they get something in the mail, they see it on Facebook, it's that multi-pronged approach all works together and that's what's resulted in our growth, having all these pieces into play.
You mentioned in there having your designers look at the metrics. What are the metrics you found are most effective at helping you see the leading indicators of what you're doing is getting you results?
It depends where we're hitting the consumer. But a top of funnel campaign that we run with, say it's an ad campaign on Facebook, all we care about is a click. They clicked and they came and they looked at that top of the funnel. They don't need to convert at that point. We just want them to see Deviate Off-Road or ADD Off-Road, one of our brands. And from there, we want them to account if they're curious. They may search on Google. We want them to see a organic result. If it's a keyword space we're really working on, we'll have ad money there and they'll at least get an ad and see our name again. We look at it in a it's going to be a number of touch points before most people make a purchase. Some of these products, you look at ADD Off-Road is the top-notch, highest quality American-made off-road bumper that is styled to complement factory styling and they have utility. There's no just flat, blocky shapes, right? Everything's contoured, multi-polygon, the whole deal. They can get expensive. There's a lot of work and there's a lot of people that touch that bumper from the moment it's cut from sheet metal and welded and ground and cleaned and sandblasted, powder coated, cooked in the oven, assembled, packaged, placed on the shelf, taken off the shelf. There's a lot of employees that go into one of these ADD bumpers. So they have a higher price tag on them, being just top shelf stuff. So you don't see an ADD customer come in, first click, and make a purchase. It happens not very often. So ADD customer journey, it's many visits, many clicks. Shopify will give you a good amount of this customer showed up from an organic search result on this date 2 months ago, returned 13 times, and then came back direct and made a purchase. You see a lot of that. With ADD, you see that a bunch. With some of our other brands that have some smaller accessories, more affordable to all price points, it might be 2 visits instead of that. But most people have multiple touch points in the automotive space.
Is Shopify your e-commerce platform?
Oh, yeah. Yep. All 4. We use it for our DTC websites, and we also use it for our B2B websites for our resellers.
Does it help you or hinder you? Is it as far as SEO goes?
As far as SEO goes and the ability to customize with ease, it's the best, in my opinion. It's the best option that's out there. You can always build your site from scratch and plug in a merchant service and all that. But they have such a large and dedicated team of developers that are constantly updating, that have been very responsive to us when we've reached out with any issues. It's the best option for us. Efficient. We can make it look how we want it to look, function the way we want it to function. It's a trusted, the actual purchase process, the checkout process is very trusted. So many businesses use it. The checkout process, you can brand it, but the feel and the layout is the same on every Shopify site. So it instills a sense of trust in the customer as well. It's familiar. They've seen it before. Yeah, I'd support it 100% over any other option out there.
Let me ask you a question kind of about your career. If you could go back in a time machine, talk to yourself at the very beginning of your career where you're in the music business, what have you learned now that you wish you would have known then?
I would have told myself, drop what you're doing and get into e-commerce and marketing.
Yeah.
It's fun and sexy and romantic to work in a recording studio. And I did a good job. But as far as what has been the best fit for me, my skills, personality, my leanings, has been e-commerce and marketing. So I just said, I've been in a lot of different industries. My team always joke with me because I tell them stories about back in the day. I'm in my 40s. A lot of the marketing teams in their 20s. It's pretty common, right? What haven't you done, man? Because I did. I just went around and tried different things. And it took me until my 30s to find that this is the spot to kind of continue to build my career.
That seems to be kind of what happens, though, is you have in your mind in your 20s what you want to do. But then when you actually get out there, you learn things that can sometimes change your opinion on that and modify your career path. So it's interesting. Yeah, I think e-commerce, if I would have been exposed to that earlier in my career, I probably would have made the same decision as you. I think that e-commerce is such a huge part now of almost every business. Very rarely you find a business doesn't do any e-commerce. And so even service businesses are using it as a way to schedule. And e-commerce and SEO are typically go hand in hand. So those two really important. But Patrick, if people want to connect with you online afterwards, connect with you and exchange ideas, where can they find you?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is the best way to get in touch. And I love collaborating with people and tossing ideas back and forth. Yeah, Patrick Hotchkiss on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Patrick. Really appreciate your insights and kind of real world experience out there with SEO and e-commerce.
Yeah, it was fun talking. I enjoyed it, Jonathan. Thanks for having me.
Cutting Edge Web Content Development is brought to you by Butter CMS. To find out how you can build better with Butter, stop wasting dev time, and free your marketers from your legacy CMS, visit buttercms.com. Also, make sure to search for Cutting Edge Web Content Development in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Butter CMS, thank you for listening.